All right. Sorry for the audio. I just didn't feel like plugging in the mic. But let's look at this thesis that I wrote here. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. No. Uh, okay. Well, let's discuss a little bit red Dindoni. Why not? We'll go ahead and discuss a little bit. I think that I'm going to be somewhat SJW here, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. This idea, I hear this from Caleb Mop, and I hear it from other socialists that support, or Marxist-Leninists that support China. But to say, yeah, Russia was backwards before the USSR, yeah. But to say that China was a backwards nation before the CCP came about in 1949, I think is Xiao Fei Hua. I do. I think it's absolutely Xiao Fei Hua. Now, once again, I will try to be fair here in my limited, and I will say this once again, limited knowledge of China as a history. I know some things here and there, but I'm not an expert. Okay, let me get that out the way. That way, if anyone does see this video, I don't have a degree in Chinese studies. I've never been to China. I've never lived in places like, I don't know, like, from Guangzhou province all the way up to, Xinjiang. I've never been to China in my life. All right. Mostly what I infer is basically from Kung Fu movies and from reading a little bit. What is the most haunting thing you learned? Most haunting thing I learned. I'm not sure, sir. I guess I would say about if we're talking about your life, I guess I would say about your mom or about that guy. The woman that poisoned your dad. But I was just going to say this. I'll go ahead and get back into the thesis here. The thing is, when people say China was a backwards nation before the CCP, I think is nonsense. Now, what I was going to say is what a lot of people point to is the idea of foot binding. And to me, once again, foot binding in general, I think, comes from the Qing dynasty primarily. And I think that was more of a Manchurian tradition. And as far as I know, I'm not aware of, was foot binding I don't think foot binding was a universal idea in China. I don't think it was. It's the same thing where it's like, the idea of putting planks on people's heads to shape them into to make them look like aliens or something. I don't really believe that was a universal thing. That was for the upper class. That was for the bourgeoisie. Now in terms of education, yeah, that was cultural. I just use the term for lack of technology and infrastructure. Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, once again, is that China did invent gunpowder. They did have firearms, is it once again, yeah, did they have the advanced firearms of the British Empire or Germany? No, they didn't, but they did have firearms, and they were able to produce firearms. A lot of them were knockoffs of German technology, but to say that they were backwards, no. China was able to make their own firearms. They even General Liu's rifle, for example, which was considered more like an M1 Garand type of semi-auto rifle. So this idea that China was backwards before the CCP, I think, is Xiao Fei Hua. And it does, to me, it sort of reflects the Kuomintang made foot binding illegal, not the communists. There's a story about English missionary. Oh, okay. Foot binding. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and argue about, foot binding being barbaric or not. I'm just saying is that was a cultural tradition, as far as I know, amongst the Manchurians, using fireworks as missiles before missiles were cool. Yeah. Once again, this is the same thing with Korea with the Hwacha, I believe. But it's like I think it's somewhat the reason I say that it's racist to say it wasn't until our Western ideas that Marx came from, that the Western ideas of Marx had influenced, Mao Zedong. It was only backwards until our Western ideas of Marxism came about. Strong Zizek vibes, yeah, probably so. I mean, but like I said, this got sort of SJW-esque, but it's very backward. But to me, it's very prejudiced, to say the least, and somewhat what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word here. Western chauvinist, to be like, oh well, China was a backwards nation until then. The thing is that Mao Zedong was probably more influenced by people like Sun Tzu, and more influenced by Taoism to a point, and even Buddhism to a point. He was far more influenced by that, I'm sure, than by Marx. Now, of course, I mean, a lot of the Maoists, of course, will say, oh, well, Mao was good. All the things that Mao wrote about were good, but all the things that Mao did in real life were bad. Just teasing. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good, bro. I'm not mad at that. But to me, it's so ridiculous to be like, oh, well, until the thing is, it's one of these Western constants where it's just like, oh, it wasn't good until this happened. Solidarity because they met the basic needs. Like, to me, China was fairly advanced already. Marxism is universal and not a Western or even Eurocentric ideology. It came, yeah, I will say to a point I can agree with you, but the thing is that Marx was still a German. And so that idea, the fact is that his writings his writings come from a Eurocentric point of view, right? Like I say, I may be, when I say backwards, I just mean a poor nation. Okay. I mean, if you want to say that, I mean, I would say in general is that China was fairly rich, even during the Qing dynasty, is that the people weren't able to get those riches. That's the only difference. They were, I mean, the Qing dynasty had plenty of gold. They had plenty of, Ming vases and plenty of rich, I mean, depending on, culturally speaking, but also just, materially speaking. It's just that they weren't able to share it with anyone. Also, China was literally a slave to Western capital before the communists. Coastal China, yes. Places like Qingdao, which was a German colony, yes. Yeah, Opium Wars, anyone? Yeah, once again, I don't deny the Opium Wars. I'm not going to say that. What I will say, though, is that does that correspond to the rest of China? Does that respond to, I don't know, Beijing directly? Not necessarily. Does that respond to places like Yan'an, which is where Mao Zedong came from, is Yan'an? Does that respond to, I don't know, the parts of Inner Mongolia, this and that? That's a matter of opinion, isn't it? And to say, once again, what we have to say is my limited knowledge of history. When we talk about a slave to Western capital before the communists, that was partly due to the Qing dynasty. Once again, giving these cities over and allowing it because they were in a weak position. By that point, of course, the Qing dynasty was fairly weak. The corruption was obviously very deep. But to say that, China was backwards, no. I don't believe that fully. I think that, China, and this isn't me counter-signaling to the CCP. Yeah, of course, the Chinese Communist Party has done many good things, but recently, this is one of the problems that I have with Maoism and everything else, is that they will just be like, well, we like what Mao wrote about, but we don't like what he actually did. And of course, now China is embracing its history. China is embracing its 5,000-year history, and they're not simply, just saying, let's melt down all these great weapons, this and that, and the Communist United China after years of division. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can get into Yan Shikai and everything else like that, too. Like I say, there's a lot deeper history than that, Once again, you could also get into the aspect of the Ma clique as well. The Ma clique, of people like Ma Xingda or Ma Bufang. Ma Bufang, who had kind of a proto-socialist idea. Now, of course, like I say, did the Ma clique join the Kuomintang? Yes, they did. But there was kind of a proto-socialist idea that was going on with people like Ma Bufang. People like Ma Bufang, for example, I'm going to continue to bring this up. He was a Sunni Muslim, And yes, once again, just in the fair, Sun Yat-sen as well, is the idea that there was a proto-socialism. While he was a Sunni Muslim, he allowed Christianity to exist. He allowed Buddhism to exist in that area. I cannot think of where it is offhand. Let me go ahead and do some quick Googling here. Ma Bufang. Yeah, Ma Bufang. I'm trying to think of it here. Now, like I said, I'm trying to be fair here. So he was, okay, so he was in Xinjiang as well, in Gansu. Okay. Even though his uncle Ma Lin was officially governor of Qinghai, Ma Bufang held de facto military power in the province. Ma Bufang made Ma Lin's position untenable and unbearable until he resigned from power by making the Hajj to Mecca. Ma Lin's next position was to be part of the national. Okay, yeah. So he eventually, in an interview, Ma Lin was described as having high admiration and unwavering loyalty to Chiang Kai-shek. Fair enough. War against Tibet and the Nolaks. Excuse me for my pronunciation. Ma Bufang's Muslim troops and Han Chinese General Liu Wenhui defeated the 13th Dalai Lama's Tibetan armies when Tibet tried to invade Qinghai province. Okay. Government supported Ma Bufang. Some Tibetans counted the number of times he attacked, remembering the seventh attack, which he made life impossible for them. Ma was highly anti-communist, and he and his army wiped out many Nolak tribal Tibetans in Second Sino-Japanese War. But like I say, the thing is to say that the century of humiliation was ended by the communists. Like I say, but the idea once again that when people the thing is context matters. And maybe I'm sounding like an SJW. Maybe I'm being too much of a fetishist for China. And the thing is, I'm not Chinese at all. But the thing is that China, this is where a lot of the people will say, "Ma revisionist China, how dare they, get rid of socialism, this and that, and bow down to Western capitalists, man." The thing is that China is simply embracing its history. That's all it is. To me, the thing is that China is embracing its history. They have embraced, is that many Hong Kong Chinese folks, as I mentioned before, people like, Stephen Chow Xing-chi, have, done more mainland Chinese films. And they've gone to Hengdian Studios. Hengdian Studios is, of course, kind of like the legacy of Shaw Brothers Studio in Hong Kong. And they continue to produce movies like that of the Shaw Brothers. Of course, it's a different type of thing. Obviously, about 40 years apart, but still. There are statues, instead of statues of Mao Zedong, they are building statues of, people like Lao Tzu, of kind of more of the Taoist faith. Of course, once again, anarchists ruin Taoism. Anarchists ruin everything, though, is that they try to say that their ideology comes from Taoism, which is cringe. Once again, I study I would ask you to go to places like Purple Cloud Temple, which is kind of the headquarters of Taoism in a lot of ways, at least in China, and to really get into that, and study, their version of Taiji Chuan, and their version of Baguazhang. Taiji Chuan, there's a big argument going back and forth, between Qin style Taiji, which comes from, the Qin family, versus, coming from the Taoist model. Same thing with Baguazhang. Dong Haishuan became more of a secular student of Baguazhang and created Baguazhang as an art. So you have Chang style Taiji, and then you have Yin style Taiji, Yin style Baguazhang. Chang style Baguazhang. But I mean, to me, this is embracing China's history. And the thing is that people don't like it. I mean, the thing is, once again, is that there are too many people. I think that it's just an excuse for their capitalist restoration / revisionism. I mean, if you want to say so, okay. I mean, like I say, I think that one thing that a lot of folks that talk about Mao Zedong as well is that Mao Zedong created or at least under his leadership, created the art of wushu. And wushu kind of watered down a lot of the traditional martial arts that existed. Arts, they created an art like Nanshan, which is just Southern Fist. That's all it means. Lam Kun in Cantonese. Socialist nation can embrace your history. Yeah, of course they can. But I would say in general is that, is that these tournaments still did go on. It's something that a lot of, nerds like me who basically look at China through a martial arts standpoint from, studying about, Kung Fu and all that sort of stuff, or what you would say is Wushu. I mean, now it's more known as Wushu in Mandarin or Mosuk in Cantonese. I mean, to me, that's kind of my standpoint of it. But I feel like, once again, is that you get this sort of idea where it's like China was a backwards nation beforehand. It's just, to me, it's very, and you can say, I saw, of course, your comment earlier, Rendon, where it's like, Marxism is a loose idea, and it's just for people to study. I think a lot of ways people will say is that, once again, I think people even like, I'm trying to think of what, I'm trying to think of what the gentleman's name is. I can't think of it now. Kwame Ture, that's it. Kwame Ture, formerly of the Black Panthers. Kwame Ture, of course, later wanted to be kind of more of a black national. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say a black socialist. I'll put it that way. But also more of a black nationalist. And of course, Kwame Ture, in one of his later speeches from like 1992, passed away in 1998, I believe, was saying basically is that Marx did not discover socialism. He said this. He said Marx didn't discover socialism. He simply discovered the pattern of it. Is that socialism has existed in other cultures? And I think there's a lot of truth to that. This is why, people don't really get, is that I can respect Bolivarian socialism because, you can talk about people like Simon Bolivar helping the people of Venezuela and indeed, a lot of South America. This is why, in general, is that people are rejecting the idea of Marx because, of course, he said, such awful things. And, this is some people say. But the thing is, this is what's important to talk about is that, they can be influenced by Marxism and Leninism to a point, but they have to embrace their own history as well. Once again, look at Juche. Is that there's a lot of people who will go on and on about, DPRK is revisionist because they don't have, they took down the murals of Marx and Lenin. How dare they? They're embracing their Korean history, period. It's the same thing that they still practice Taekwondo and they still hold to some traditional Korean values. People always seem to forget that, I don't see any problem with saying that it was backwards because it was Chinese people themselves that improved their society. Fair enough. Yeah, it was Chinese people. But the thing is, what I will say is that why did they need, once again, is that Mao Zedong, as I said before, Mao Zedong was influenced far more by Sun Tzu, the art of war. It was more influenced by Taoist readings far more than he was about Marxism. So once again, I think there's a lot of fetishists, a lot of Western folks who are just like, oh, well, we only like what Mao Zedong wrote about. Well, if you really want to get into what Mao Zedong really believed, why don't you read books like Art of War and understand what he was talking about instead of, fetishizing, what he wrote about in the books. That's the whole problem I have with Maoism. I mean, this is really more of a critique of Maoism and why people go on and on about Mao and will say that Malcolm X supported him. Malcolm X didn't support Mao Zedong. He liked the idea that China was united as one nation fighting against imperialism, and he wanted that for African people, period. Once again, this idea, that, oh, well, Malcolm X was a Maoist. No, he wasn't. Malcolm X supported black separatism. Malcolm X still supported, and, became a legitimate Sunni Muslim. I mean, like I said, I'm basically repeating that video I did a while back, but it's like he did it for the people, period. It's the same thing of what goes on in China. You know, they're simply embracing, you know, their culture and their ideas. If you want to say that they're revisionist or whatever, okay, fine. I'm not going to sit here and argue about it. But the thing is that ultimately, this is what, you know, you can go ahead and cope all day about, oh, well, if only if Mao Zedong's, hold on, let me answer the phone. I'll get back to that point. Okay. All right, never mind. Yeah. As Amanda David Roy said, in Asia, socialism is national. I butchered that quote, but you get the idea. Yeah. That people crying about Juche's revision or SWCC revisionism are dumb. Okay, that's fair. Like I say, I don't expect y'all to completely agree with me. Like I say, it's just kind of a long rant. Now I'm just repeating myself again. I know. I get that way. Y'all know I tend to go on these rants, and then I just end up going right back to the starting point because I'm just too boomer. I know, but that's just how I feel. You can feel, you know, agree to disagree, but I feel like with China, it's a complicated situation. And I think that, like I say, I will agree with this, is that you shouldn't fetishize, but you shouldn't hate either. And it's a fine line that we have to follow, you know. So if you want to be, you know, like I say, I'm kind of paraphrasing that a little bit from people like Paul Moran. Now, of course, to me, going on that issue, though, Paul Moran, of course, being an Irishman, I have not heard him do a video yet about being Irish and being Catholic. You know, here in the United States, of course, it's Roman Catholic and then you have Irish Catholic. Like, there's a huge difference, you know. And I have not heard him say anything about the idea, you know, the intersection. Dare I use the, oh man, I've been so destroyed by the internet. I'm just saying intersectionality. Excuse me, take away my, you know, give me the cringe card. I'm sorry. But I have not heard the intersection of Irish socialism versus Catholicism and how one is the other. Because, of course, that was a large part of, you know, the Troubles and all that business, was a war between the Protestants and the Catholics. And this is something that isn't really mentioned, that people like Paul Moran don't want to mention a lot of. It's the same thing when people will be like, we support Palestine, this and that. It's like, I can support Palestine to a point, but realistically, I need to help myself first before I try to help Palestine. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same type of thing. And you know, it's just a crazy thing right now. You know, it really is. Yeah. He brought it up in live stream. I agree, but many Marxists will call me a Nazbol if I ever bring that fact up. He did bring it up in live stream. Okay. He did. Okay. I haven't seen every one of Paul Moran's live streams, so that's fair. I mean, like I said, I was just listening to the one yesterday where he was talking about fascism and everything else. And to a point, I agree, but there are a lot of aspects I was like, you know, I didn't listen to every minute of it, though. And once again, he brought in a guy, of course, that was Bulgarian, I think it was. But I can't really. Like I say, this is just my opinion. You can go ahead and feel, you know, agree to disagree. Like I say, I don't ban people outright. I don't do any of that. I just want to give my spicy take on it. I was just watching a Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movie here, Godfather of Canton, which is a movie with Gordon Liu of 36 Chambers fame, and it's directed by this guy, Gui Chi Hong. He directed this movie called Boxer's Omen, which is one of the wildest Shaw Brothers movies. Y'all should check that out, though, definitely. Embrace the Nazbol, yeah. It is if you're not Nazbol. You say that like, yeah, being called Nazbol is a bad thing. I think that, once again, I don't think that the left understands what Nazbol even is. Because you know, once again, I'm going to be like I'm going to make the meme, but Nazbol has never been tried IRL. And I would say arguably, though, is that China is the closest thing to Nazbol right now. And I know people are going to say that's cringe, but I would say, you know, I think that other people, I think even Julie made that point. But it's like, I would say China is the closest thing to Nazbol, arguably. But, you know, that's kind of cringe. I don't know. It's not that people will disregard any point you make if they think you're a Nazbol. Yeah. I'm more of a Dramatonus but Pytel and Ustralyov were based. Yeah, that's fair. Like I say, I don't know where I'm going with this honestly, but I just feel like is that I would say DPRK. Yeah, that would probably be more apt. Yeah, that would probably be more apt. Yeah, yeah, DPRK would probably be closer to actual Nazgul. The problem is the left only base themselves on Dugan. Yeah, but everybody hates Dugan. I mean, everybody, they love to grasp at straws. These fucking conspiracy theorists, whether they're left wing or right wing, they're like, it's like either Dugan is like an extreme Bolshevik who wants to destroy all the churches, or he's just some secret Nazi who's gonna, kill all the leftists. It's like, bruh, he's just one guy. It's just people have wasted so much space on Twitter talking about Dugan. I mean, it's just so pitiful. It is. It's absolutely pitiful seeing these folks go on and on about Dugan. It's like, no, pull your skirt up, or pull your skirt down, put on some pants, and stop acting like a bitch. Leave this nigga alone. I don't get it, but yeah. You say the sky is blue, but if you're Nazgul, you're wrong. Yeah. Does Dugan even? He doesn't have a party officially. Yeah. Limonov was just a soap dim. Yeah. Limonov, like I say, I re-uploaded this guy's video on the Nazgul party. And yeah, basically Limonov just kind of slowly became more of just a Russian nationalist and ultimately just became kind of a third-tier propagandist. And I don't think he does have a party. I don't think he does. I think that he's just kind of some random guy. I think that he has, of course he has followers, but to say that he has an official party, I don't think he does. I don't think so. Yeah, he is very esoteric. And of course, like I say, it doesn't make any sense when people will disown people like Caleb Maupin because, oh my gosh, he was sitting next to somebody, so we have to. It's just the state of the online left and just the left in general, at least in the United States, is absolute bullshit. It is. It's people are shitting their pants saying fascism is coming to the United States. It's like, well, I thought fascism was already here. I thought the United States was already a fascist nation. So what are you even talking about? Like Evola, he has a lot of fans that won't really do anything. Yeah. Evola, I don't take seriously. I never want to read Evola. I don't think I'll ever read Evola in my life. I've seen enough cringe people online to know that Evola is not someone I want to emulate at all or read about. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's just so ridiculous, isn't it? In this whole context, I mean, people are shitting their pants over what Trump said, saying, oh my gosh, well, I'm not sure we can have a peaceful, transition. It's just like, what do you expect? I mean, I don't get it. Like I said, oh, well, fascism's already here, but you better vote. And it's just so ridiculous. The thing is that, once again, I've heard the comparison, and Vosh made this comparison as well, with the 2000 election between Bush and Gore and all the hanging Chad stuff. Once again, I mean, that was one of the big jokes, is that the hanging Chad is that people in Florida didn't know who they were voting for. So they had the old hole punch, the old hole puncher thing. And so they would clipped the wrong one, or they hole punched the wrong one. It's like, I didn't know who I was voting for. And of course, the thing is, then you'll have, folks like, talking about the voter suppression or the votes that weren't put in, this and that. I think it's bullshit. I do. I think it's bullshit. And of course, it's like, would Gore have made that much of a difference? That's the real question, though. I mean, maybe I'm too much of a pragmatist or whatever you want to call me, but it's like, would Gore have made that much of a difference in 2000? Would he have? I don't know, because, Al Gore is a boring motherfucker. He's a boring guy. He's like, hi, my name is Al Gore. Of course, he had his current TV, which went up in smoke. And it's like, and even if Clinton had been made president, would it have made a difference? This is the whole thing of when people say things about, I'm on a roll, so just go with me on this. But the thing is, it's like, when people talk about, oh, well, Hillary Clinton won the vote by 3 million votes, she won the popular vote, and then it was the evil, it was the evil electoral college, these individual people that are chosen from across different states. Oh my gosh, it was their fault. They're so evil. and they need something to rage about. It's like, even if, if people think that Trump is a fascist, then why are they not fighting the government Lamau? They aren't. Yeah, they really aren't. I mean, they would rather just, it's the same thing with the concentration camps on the border. You don't see them go down to Mexico, do you? Or you don't see them go down to El Paso or go down to New Mexico or Arizona, right? You don't see them do that. They're in their own fucking backyard in Minnesota or in Wisconsin or in San Diego, and they're talking shit to regular people because, they're just coping. They're just so mad. They're like rebels without a cause. They're just so mad. They can't even do anything, though. They're just mad to be mad. But that's my take anyway. Yeah. It's not even the West. It's a few reactionaries that are really loud. Yeah. Yeah. West's obsession with Dugan always baffled me. It really is. I mean, it's just utterly ridiculous. But it's like, I don't get this whole type of shit where you're just so, people have worked themselves so much into a hissy fit. It's like, I remember when I was younger. I'll put it this way. Back when I was younger in 2012, the History Channel showed all these documentaries about the world ending and what we should try to do and everything else like that, and made all these, this fear porn that they put out. And it's like, and then December 21st, 2012 comes and passes and nothing happens. And people like me are disillusioned, and we're just like, okay, who gives a shit then? So when you want to go on and on about climate change, or you want to go on and on about, fascism in the United States, it's like, okay, what have you done to actually do it? And it's like, I don't get it. I want to live in the world, and the world lives think we live in. Yeah. It's just, like I said, it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. It's just pitiful to see this type of stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like I say, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Hell, I barely know what's going to happen today. But this is off topic. But Ewoks Unhinged is going to have a live with SMO about making libs socialist. We should be there in the chat and say that we should make conservatives socialists, aka the correct take. Yeah. But they hate conservatives more than anything else. I mean, that's the whole thing. Dyslexic Mayan wrote 2012 instead of 2021. Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. But yeah, that is true. I mean, the thing is about that Ewok Unhinged guy, it's like, I don't know. What else is there to say? I mean, I think I pretty much said my piece on that. It started out talking about China, and I went on that rant, and I kind of repeated stuff I've already said in live streams. I don't know. I think I've said my piece. Like I say, I just wanted to make this a shorty stream. Apologies for the audio quality. I didn't feel like plugging in the mic. I was just like, you know what, whatever. Let me go ahead and film this while I got my lunch ready. So, but honestly, that's my attitude. It's like, even though many socialists were socially conservative, yeah. I think I'll end it there, though. So I will, of course, give props to my audience, as I always do. Or at least I try to always do. Timogen, Ole Stuzum, Will DeMarco, Union Army Ball, Red Dundonian is an anti-nationalist for me, but still a base tanky. Yeah, that's fair. No More Libs 1975, Benedict, Union Army Ball. I think I said that. I make sure I didn't miss anybody. I'm trying to think. Union Army Ball, Ole. Sonia, Ole. No More Libs 1975. Jafa. I'm just going to say that. That's all good, yeah. Was a product of his material conditions, yo. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Autarkic People's Republic as well. Seth Frisbee. I hope you're doing okay, Seth. I know that you've been through some shit, at least according to what I've seen. So I think I'll keep it there, though. Once again, yep. See you later. We'll go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Hopefully, it doesn't double the audio. I'm going to go ahead and do the. I like doing the Katyusha outro. I like doing the Katyusha outro better. So I'm going to do that. So here we go. I hope y'all have a good rest of the day. I hope that I made some salient points. I don't know. Like a lot of the time, I just kind of rant and rave and just hope something sticks to the wall. But yeah, anyway, I'll keep it there. Y'all have a good rest of the day, and goodbye.
Пусть он вспомнит девушку простую, пусть услышит, как она поет, пусть он землю бережет родную, а любовь Катюша сбережет. Пусть он землю